Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lindy's Magpie Reads. It has been a couple of months since I have made a video. If you're new here, I'm Lindy. I usually just talk about books and a little bit about what's going on in my life. So this video is going to be a lot about what has been going on in my life. At the end of July, I fell and got a concussion. So as a result, I have been recovering from traumatic brain injury since then, and it's been slow. This is my fourth concussion. I was actually still dealing with cognitive issues from my third concussion, which I got in December of 2021. Here's my cat, Frida, coming to say hello. And specifically, the issue that I was dealing with from before is my brain just going blank, my mind going blank, which meant that when I make a video, and I guess it's still the case, it takes me a long time to edit it because I just cut out all those blank parts. Frida. So every brain is different, and every brain injury is different. And I can tell you that from personal experience. Each time that I have injured my brain, the effects have been different. So I want to talk about binocular vision dysfunction. This is one of the things that I'm experiencing. That is actually an umbrella term for all kinds of causes, but the effect is that the information coming from our eyes to our brain is misaligned in some way. It can be something that a person is born with, or something that's acquired as through brain operation or a fall, a brain injury, something like that. So I have binocular vision dysfunction, or binocular vision disorder, it's also called. And what it means for me is that I have difficulty tracking, so following a sideways movement. My eyes kind of jerk and jump instead of going smoothly, and it also makes me feel vertigo. I have trouble with my depth perception. I have double vision. I am wearing special glasses with prisms in them. So the ones that I've got on right now are for short distances, like reading or seeing the phone that I'm using to record this on. And I also have a separate pair of glasses that's for everything else. But because I need progressive lenses, and that's the most difficult for your eyes to adjust to, the different areas of focus in the lens. The progressive lenses that I have are mostly for distance and close up, not much in the middle area. Okay, Frida, time to go down. There you go. So, our visual system works together with our vestibular system, which has to do with your inner ear, your balance, and that has also been something that I have been struggling with. My spatial awareness, where I am in space. And in particular, I've been working on being able to turn my head side to side without getting a vertigo. I have been going to vision therapy for 6 weeks. Actually, this will be the 7th week of it. And I I am seeing improvement, so that is really encouraging. Initially, when I went there in August, I was referred by my doctor. I thought the timeline that they had set out, that in December I was going to be reevaluated. I thought, is this going to take that long? Well, yes, it does take a while. At the very first session, one of the things that the therapist had me do was lie down on the ground and close my eyes, and keeping my eyes closed, look or move my eyes to the left and then to the right and then down and then look up. And the sensation, I couldn't believe it. It was like my whole body was rolling to the left, rolling to the right, falling forward, flipping backwards when I looked up, even though I was just lying there. So one of the exercises that I had to do in that first week at home every day was to practice laying on the ground, feeling my eyes move, but being aware that my body was staying still. So this is just one example. Every week, the therapist will, tell me which exercises that we're going to do, and I think, oh, that sounds easy. Turns out it tends to be trickier than I thought. So some of the other things that I'm dealing with right now are an increased sensitivity to light and a sensitivity to being in a noisy, crowded room, and even something like walking across the trestle bridge that's near my home. It goes over a body of water, and the wooden boards are difficult for my brain to adjust to, all of those lines. And so there's ways to adapt. So for example, walking across that bridge, I focus on the trees across on the other side and use my peripheral vision to be aware of where I am as I'm crossing the bridge. So that's just one thing. We have friends visiting who we haven't seen for 2 years. And when Cindy Lou greeted me when I walked into the cafe, she said, "Oh, you look great." And I had feelings about that because I don't feel like myself. I have these challenges, but they are invisible. And so it's not apparent to people, the struggle that I have just to go through daily life. I want to thank all of my subscribers who have been checking in with me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for caring, for sending me messages, asking how I am. And I'm very pleased to report that I am improving. I do plan to return to regular BookTube uploads. And what got me in front of the camera today is listening to Adventures in Brain Injury podcast. So I will link Cavin Balaster's website below, and you can find the podcast there. He is a brain injury survivor who has been interviewing lots of different medical experts about brain injury recovery. The one I was listening to this morning was with Dr. Lynn Hallerstein, who's an American optometrist who specializes in vision therapy. And she was talking about visualization and how her motto is see it, say it, do it. So visualize it, declare it, and then take action. So I decided this morning I am going to visualize myself making a video, and here I am making it. I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit this, but I am making a video. So thank you for being out there watching. I do have some books to talk about. The number one book that I want to recommend is about vision. It's a memoir called Whale Eyes, and it's by James Robinson. Now, James was born with a brain that keeps the information from both eyes separate. So this is a form of strabismus where his eyes do not work together. When he was young, they tried a couple of surgeries which work for some people. They didn't work for him. And so his eyes switch back and forth between what he sees. So if a ball is coming towards him, he'll see it over here, then he'll see it over there. That was Kitty. I don't know what she was into. And the eye that is not currently in use wanders off to the side. And people were always staring at him. So he made a fabulous short documentary about his eyes, what it's like for him to see things, to explain to people so they know what they're looking at, why his eyes are different. I highly, highly recommend watching this video. I will include a link in the show notes. But one of the things that James talks about in this memoir is how he had avoided thinking of himself as disabled. He said he thought it meant something sinister. It was in his 20s that he realized disability rights are about protection. He said football players in their gear aren't seen as weak, and firefighters in their protective gear are seen as heroic. And we think safety, not weakness, when we see a construction worker in a high-vis vest and a hard hat. People use protection because they're in a potentially dangerous situation. And as he says, disabled Americans are in danger of abuse and neglect. They are 4 times more likely to be victims of violent crime, and at work, they're in danger of wrongful termination, and at school, they are in danger of exclusion. The definition of disability is a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. He says, when I was a child struggling to read, I wish someone had told me what the word disabled really meant. To tell a child that they are disabled is to tell them that they are protected. That long before they took their first breath, there was a community that was fighting for them and continues to fight to this day. This book is aimed at readers from about age 11 through to adults. Highly recommend. And the video too. I have been mostly listening to audiobooks, although I can also read print books for short periods at a time. Many of the audiobooks I've been listening to have to do with the brain. And one that I want to talk about right now is called The Brain at Rest: How the Art and Science of Doing Nothing Can Improve Your Life. It's by Joseph Jebelli, an Iranian-born British neuroscientist. Here's something that I've transcribed from the audiobook. Anxiety now costs the European Union 170 billion euros a year. In America, it's 210 billion. The reasons are complex, but experts agreed that a primary cause is our growing dislocation from nature. A study found that spending 2 hours a week in nature significantly improved psychological well-being. Apparently, Americans spend 90% of their time indoors. It's probably very similar for Canadians. In the UK, 3/4 of children spend less time outside than prison inmates. Nature prompts moments of introspection, creative thinking, and deep reflection, moments that are essential for our default network of psychological health. So here I am, filming outside. So, the title, The Brain at Rest, it reinforces how important it is to rest. And in my case, in the case of anybody who is recovering from injury, rest is so important. The author enumerates the ways that napping protects the brain. He says there are 3 fundamental ways. It lowers stress by reducing cortisol levels in the brain. It encourages the regeneration of brain cells, which, yes, I really need that right now too. And it also triggers a new kind of thinking, and this is something that we have yet to really understand how and why that happens. So I have had to accept that I need a lot of rest. I'm fatigued easily, so I rest during the day, and even when I'm upright, like I am now, I'll spend time just sitting and doing nothing. And I know it's good for my brain. I've been also comforted by knitting. Some of you might remember the project that I was working on, a garment that's created in a modular way with little 2-inch squares. It's really progressed a lot during the last 2 months. Maybe I'll pop in a photo here. And I have learned that working with your hands, especially an activity where your hands cross your median, lights up the part of the brain that makes you feel good, that makes you feel happy. And knitting works for me. It's calming and soothing, and I can just tell it's just what I need. One of the books that I've read in recent times, I think it was about a month ago, is The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elisabeth Tova Bailey. And this is a memoir where she's talking about recovery from severe, a virus-caused disability where she could hardly even turn over in bed. And a friend brought her a plant, a violet, dug up from outside, and put a snail in the pot. And so she watched this snail and wrote beautifully about it. I love this memoir so much. So this is a quote that she has in the book, and it comes from The Biology of Terrestrial Mollusks. expressing a snail's way of being. The right thing to do is to do nothing. The place to do it is in a place of concealment, and the time to do it is as often as possible. And I think that just applies to healing from brain injury as well. There is another book about snails that I was reading concurrently, or I was actually listening to the audiobook, and that is Maria Reva's book, Endling. I'm sure you've heard of this book because it was longlisted for the Booker and a finalist for the Atwood Gibson Writers Trust Prize, and it's currently a finalist for the Governor General Literary Awards. The winner is going to be announced November 13th, so just 2 days from now at the time I'm filming this. Anyway, Maria Reva, who's a Ukrainian-born Canadian writer, was writing a novel about a snail biologist, a scientist, who was studying endlings, so species that are near extinction. So there was only one or two left. So yeah, snails come into the novel. One of the things that really electrified me about this novel is that partway through it switches to nonfiction. Because during the time that Maria was writing this novel, and she was partway through it, the Russian invasion of Ukraine happened. She said she couldn't continue writing fiction when this horrible thing was happening. And she has a grandfather there, relatives there in the east of Ukraine where all this is happening. And so she does something that's so interesting with her writing. Love that book so much. And right now, I am listening to a memoir by Margaret Atwood, The Book of Lives. And it just so happens that Margaret Atwood loves snails. Talks about how much she's fascinated by snails. So there you go. We got snail connections happening. And sometimes I feel like my recovery is at a snail's pace, but I'm also encouraged when I think about how much better I'm doing now than I was a month ago and 2 months ago. I will continue with positive attitude. I will continue to work with my vision therapists and the neurooptometrist who is helping me to regain better use of my brain. And I want to thank you very much for watching my channel today, and thank you to those of you who have reached out to me. I wish you all well. You're beautiful people. Thank you for being there. And until I see you again, happy reading, everybody. Bye for now.